Right. I want to talk about dyspraxia. In my previous videos, I spoke about dyslexia and how it affects learners in a learning environment, in any environment of learning. So now I want to talk about dyspraxia. Now, I will give a general overview of what it is before I go on to talk about how it affects learners in any learning environment. So, um, let's talk about dyspraxia, what it is, and how you can see it in an individual who is dyspraxic. So, um, this is also called in the healthcare sector, it is called the DCD, or developmental coordination disorder. Now, this is a condition, it's a neurodevelopmental condition, and it mainly affects three things in an individual. That's number one, it affects coordination. Number two, it affects the execution of physical movements. And then number three, it affects motor planning. So that's motor planning, physical movements, and coordination. These are the three key areas that are affected. Of course, there are other areas that come into play, but generally speaking, it is about those three conditions. Now, looking at dyspraxia and what it is, and how it links to other conditions. Now, dyspraxia is not caused by muscle weakness. It is not caused by muscle weakness. It is not about intelligence. It has nothing to do with the intelligence of the individual. It has been found that mostly those who are dyspraxic may have an IQ of average or above average. So it has nothing to do with intelligence, but it is something to do with how the brain sends signals to the body. Now, it is said that the signals that are sent from the brain to the body get delayed, and therefore we have those coordination challenges in an individual, and these other problems that are actually the other challenges that come into play because of that. So the signals from the brain get delayed to get to the parts of the body where those signals are required. So that is what it does to an individual and how it affects them. What causes dyspraxia? Um, it's not really known what causes it, but it's mainly about the brain and how it functions, how the signals get to the body, and how they get sent from the brain to the body, and thus those delays are what come up. But so it is not clear as to what causes this. Then the other thing that is to be noted is that this is a lifelong. It's a lifelong thing. Once you have it for life. So you cannot outgrow it. Once you have it from young age, then you have it for life. So it's about managing whatever it is that those with that condition get to be affected, and then there has to be some management of that condition in those people. Now, dyspraxia co-occurs with other conditions. Next time I spoke about dyslexia and how it affects learning. There are other conditions also that come into play, like ADHD. It can also co-occur with ADHD. It can also occur with dyscalculia. It can co-occur with other conditions. But since I spoke about dyslexia last in my previous videos, I think it may be worth it to link the two, that mostly those who are dyspraxic, 50% of them, there is a chance that 50% of the dyslexic will also be dyspraxic. So there is that link, there is that overlapping of the issues, of the common issues that affect both the dyspraxic and the dyslexic. Now, what are the symptoms? How do you spot it in children? How do you spot this dyspraxia in children? So they are what are called early milestones. Now, this is what you see in an infant. Let's say you have a child who is, maybe, let's say, a small child or a small baby. You watch them as they grow. Now, if there are delays in crawling, delays in sitting, delays in maybe walking, it may be a sign of being dyspraxic. I'm not saying it is definitely dyspraxic, but that will need to be confirmed by the those who are in the medical field. So you may see those. It may mean that they may be dyspraxic. So there are delays in walking, delays in sitting, delays in crawling. That is for the babies. That's where you can see it. Then the other thing that you can see in children is that it affects the gross motor skills. Now, gross motor skills are about the movement, the physical movements of the body, and how the body plans for the execution of those movements. So you may find that a dyspraxic child cannot manage to catch a ball. You throw a ball at them, they cannot catch that ball. They cannot ride a bicycle, so that's to them, it requires a lot of things to be done. The execution of those movements are quite difficult for them. Uh, they may not be involved in many sports, so it's difficult for them to be involved in sports. So these are some of the challenges that they have. That is the gross motor skills. So they may not be able, the body may not be able to execute those skills. So that's the gross motor skills. They can also have maybe it affecting the fine motor skills, things like holding a pen, which I will talk about maybe when I'm talking about the education, how it affects the education of the learning of the dyspraxic learner. The holding of a pen is difficult. A pen is something that is difficult for them. They may not know how to tie their shoelaces. They may not know how to use utensils, kitchen utensils, or anything that is uh, that requires that the hand to execute those to finer details. So those things may be difficult for them to execute. They cannot pattern their maybe whatever patterns they need to do. That's difficult for them to do it. So that is how it affects the fine motor skills. All right. So and then the other ways you can see it are the spatial awareness, which I'll talk about this maybe in future videos. But the spatial awareness, being aware of where your body is in relation to objects. So this will lead mainly to clumsiness, what is called clumsiness, where someone is going to just bump on some furniture, they bump on people, it's like they don't know where they are. They are not fully aware of their body, of where their body is in relation to objects. You ask them to reach to an object, it's either they overreach that object or they cannot reach it. So it's difficult for them to even measure the distances between their body and some objects that they want to reach. So in a nutshell, this is what it is. I will break it down into some parts in my future videos, but this is what dyspraxia is in general.